My name is Freya. I am a knitter and textile student living in Glasgow with my girlfriend Karina and my two cats Kiska and Floki. Welcome or welcome back. I hope you have had a nice holiday, a good Christmas and New Year. Yes, so I am back a bit sooner than I was the last time. Mainly because I just have so much new stuff that I want to show before I knit with it. I think this might be my first podcast where I've not got like a finished jumper to share, which is crazy. I've got like a third of the way through a jumper to share, so I have got my notes. And I've got a pile in front of me that just looks insane. Yeah. So I guess we will just jump right into my first finished object, which is a pair of socks. That was my Christmas Day cast on. I am actually wearing them, so apologies for that, but this is what they look like. I did actually also get a ring light for Christmas. So it's my first time using it and I really cannot see my screen and I just don't know what you're seeing, so hopefully you can see this. So these are socks. They are folded down. Yeah, it's so big. So these are a sport weight sock. I did actually, basically most of the things that I've got I did actually ask for. So these are the Regia, the sock wool. It's 75% wool and 25% polyamide. 150 grams is 375 meters, and I'm pretty sure that is a sport weight. It's a 6-ply, and it's the Annie and Carlos, one of their ranges with them. So I wanted to knit a pair of sport weight or 6-ply or thicker socks for the longest time. One of my favourite pair of socks is a pair of socks that my granny knitted, and I'm sure they're a 6-ply or a sport weight sock. And obviously it's winter now, so I've just been craving to knit them basically. So I cast them on straight away. I knew I was getting the yarn, and I also got some 3mm needles and 2.75mm needles. So toe up socks, my first ever time doing toe up socks. So I learned a lot. I think I cast on for these socks about 10 times, and that's not even an exaggeration, it was probably more than that. So I forget what the cast on is called, but it was like, I'm not even going to try to remember, but basically you have the two needles and you just wrap it around both of the needles and then you knit across and then knit across the other needle. And the only real way to do this is magic loop, and I have not used magic loop before. It's just so fiddly. I did try it once and it just it's just so fiddly for me, and I love DPNs, so why change my socks knitting style? But I had to use magic loop for the cast on. So I only used magic loop for the first like 3 rows and then I went straight to DPN, so it wasn't all bad. But so the issues that I was coming into was, first of all, I was making up the stitch count. So first of all I cast on too many stitches, and then I got the increases wrong, and then I cast on, it was just an endless loop of casting on too many and too little, doing the increases wrong, not really liking it, using too small a needle and all of that kind of stuff. So anyway, I settled on a 3mm needle. I wanted it to be, I'm sure like a DK weight sock suggests it's like a 3.25, and I didn't want that. I wanted a denser sock than that, so I used a 3mm, and that's perfect for this. And I increased to 52 stitches for the foot. So, okay, toe-up socks. Everyone always raves about them in terms of like, oh, you can try it on and see where to do the heel and stuff. But for me, it's so much easier to try on a cuff down sock and then get the foot length right. But I wanted to do a toe up sock so that I could use up all of the yarn. And the reason being because I don't have any of the sport weight sock yarn. So if I was going to have any left, I couldn't use it for any like sock project. So I just wanted to use it all and make really long socks. But you saw how long they were, and I've still got this much left, which I'm sure is like 25 grams. So it is a decent amount, which is kind of annoying, but I didn't want to knit them any longer. Like they come right up to like the top of my calf, so that wasn't happening. I just finished. So in the end, there wasn't really any point of doing a toe up sock because I have so much left. But anyway, I digress. So I will link the pattern below that I vaguely followed. Basically, I've spoken about it before, but in socks, basically no other heel fits me apart from a heel flap and gusset. And I've heard like basically most toe up socks do not do heel flap and gusset. They do like other heels that I don't know the names of. So I wanted to find a pattern that was a toe up sock that also did heel flap and gusset, and the only one that I could find that was like what I was looking for was just like a 4-ply fingering weight sock. So I bodged the numbers basically to fit you know, my stitch count and stuff. And do you know what? I actually do like the finished heel. It's basically exactly the same as my normal heel, but reversed. Like instead of, I'll link the pattern below and you can see, but it's literally the same process but reversed, which is really cool actually, and I did really enjoy doing that. But I don't like the toe on toe up socks because you can really feel those increases. For some reason on a cuff down with decreases you can't feel it, but you can kind of feel the ridges where you've made the increases. I did make one left and make one right. I also tried knitting in the front and back of the stitch and both made like ridges, so I just went with it after that. I'd done the toe so many times. But I would definitely recommend that pattern. Yeah, I would definitely recommend that pattern, and I think I will I think I will try and knit a toe up sock, but I will do like a provisional crochet cast on where like the toe should have ended, knit up the cuff, and then go back and pick up those stitches and knit the toe cuff down style. Yeah, I think, I don't know, I just really enjoyed doing the heel, and that way I could actually like use up all of the yarn, because the toe only takes like a couple of grams. So if I got up to the cuff and left like what, 5 grams, I could do the toe. Does that make sense? I don't know. But yeah, I think I'm gonna do that basically. Long tangent to say, really like the socks in the end. Yeah, nothing more to say about that. Okay, so next I will talk about. So that's so I've only got 2 finished objects for this one. So my next finished object, a teeny tiny, and they are hair ties. This was actually a request from my mum. I don't know if any other people had scarves that looked like this. Obviously, like blown up to a bigger scale than this. But it went around your neck, and then there's like a little hole here that you make, and you pass this end through here, and it kind of looks like a bow. I've made these holes teeny tiny because it's going like, you make a ponytail and you put it around the back, like hair tie. What do you call them? Hair ties. And she wanted it just to cover up those and to make it them look a bit nicer. I probably should have showed that on camera, but I just put that end through the little loop, and it makes a cute, I'm trying to see what you can see, a cute little thing, so it'll sit like that on the, yeah. So I vaguely followed a pattern for this, vaguely. So I found a couple, actually there was more patterns on Ravelry than I thought there was going to be for something like this. So I found a baby one, which I thought would be easier to scale down from, and yeah, so I vaguely followed it. I vaguely followed the beginning bit up until here, and then I made it up basically. I'm kind of thinking about writing this up and making like a how-to video, because I think they're fun and I think other people would like to make them, basically, for no other reason. So yeah, that's that basically. These are just a 4-ply fingering sock weight sock, and I know it's a dropped fable in like the blue gradient one, and it took 10 grams for 2, so 5 grams of sock yarn for 1. So perfect for scraps if that's what you're looking for. Yeah, I really do want to write up a pattern and film a how-to video. I just think it would be really fun to do. So I want to make a couple more pairs. I want to make some mohair ones and some other funky colour ones. I was actually, she said, you know, colourful and, you know, you choose, but all of my sock yarn is like long colour stripes. So because this is only 5 grams, it would be like 1 block of one stripe and 1 block of another stripe, if that makes sense. So actually I don't really have much yarn to make these with, but I'm sure I can dig out something. I do have loads of scraps, well, I say scraps, but like little leftover balls that my auntie gave me a couple of years ago, so I'm sure I can find something in that to make some colourful ones for, and that is that. So we will move on to whips next. I spoke about this whip in my last one, and I was waiting on getting the mohair to go with the other yarn so that I could make it, and that arrived. And so I cast that on after I finished all of my gift knits, which I did finish before Christmas, and I think everyone liked them, which is nice. So in the meantime I knit a gauge swatch, and oh wait, what is it? So it's Chestnut Sweater by Petite Knit. petite knit. And so I spoke in the last one about how my gauge is like wildly different from hers. So I did a gauge swatch. So this top one is in the recommended needle size, which is a 4mm. I like to put little yarn over so I know this the needle size. So that's 4mm. Yeah, that's the suggested one. And I measured it, you know, after I knit it, not before I blocked it, but I just measured it to vaguely see what other sizes I needed to try out, and it was very close. It was smaller, but it was close. So then I was like, do you know what? I only need to go up half a needle size. And also the only reason why I wanted to go up half a needle size is because I actually really like that fabric. I like the density or looseness of it, and I like the feel of it. So I actually didn't want to go up at any more than what I really had to. So I only went up half a millimeter. So this is a 4.5mm for this square, and it's pretty spot on. I'm like 0.5 of a stitch over the stitch gauge, and I'm like 2 stitches over the row gauge. So it is a bit different, but if I went up another needle size, I do think it would be too big and I wouldn't have liked the fabric. So I take back everything that I said about my gauge being like crazy different. Apparently it's not that different for this one. So the yarn that I am using is Drops Fable, which is I'll get the whip. Which is a 4-ply. I'm sure it's either 65 alpaca and 35 wool, or 65 wool and 35 alpaca. I've used this for the last couple of projects, so I obviously really like the fabric that this makes. So this is currently the whip. It has been scrunched into a bag and just being sat around because I've kind of gotten drawn to other things. But this is what it currently looks like. Again, I really don't know what you can see. So I knit the back. So you knit down the back. What can you see? You knit down the back, then you pick up for the shoulders, do a bit of shaping, knit down the arms, connecting the round, and just knit. So I connected into the round. What can you see? I connected to the round, and then I knit until I had used up those balls that I was knitting with, and then I stopped knitting on the body when I would have had to have introduced another yarn ball, because I like to do that and then go on to do the neck, especially the neck, because when you do the neck it stabilizes that hole, and because of that because how do I explain this? Because of that, when you try it on periodically to get the length right, it will actually sit as if it'll sit right, basically. If I hadn't, then this neck might have like stretched open and down, and when I'd have put the neck in, it might have like sucked it in more and pulled up the jumper more, if that makes sense. So anyway, I went onto the neck basically and I've just been knitting in the round in 1x1 rib on a 3.5mm needle, and it's a long neck because it's a folded over neck. So for this, it's like the stitch count for a hat basically, so I'm basically knitting a hat, and it's kind of tedious. So that's where I finished, and then I got distracted and moved on to other things. That's the Jot's Fable in White Fog, and this is the Kid Silk in Chalk, and this is a really, really nice combination. It's like a classy white. I have got a ring light on, and I've got the main light on in this room, and I can't see what you can see, so I don't really know if the colour's coming out you know, true to real life. But if you go online, it's pretty true to life online, like on Wool Warehouse is where I got it from. So if you look on there, you can see. But yeah, it's like an off-white, but in like not like a orangey nicotine stained way, but in like a nice way. I'm not gonna try to explain that again. So that's as far as I've gotten, and I am so excited to have the finished object. And after I've finished this next whip, I will be going on to finish this. I'm honestly so excited to finish it. So that's that. Oh, I'm knitting the size 2. Yeah, I'm knitting the size 2, which should get me a nice amount of positive ease, and I cannot remember what the finished object is meant to be, but it says in the pattern, and I'll link it below. I feel like I'm speeding through these. Maybe this is going to be like my shortest one yet. Okay, so the next object is actually another pair of socks, but there's a lot to speak about before I talk about the finished object. So another thing that I got for Christmas was actually fibre for spinning. I have a spinning wheel that my auntie kindly gave to me when she got a new wheel, and that was like 5 years ago now, 4.5 years. And I've on and off spun on it, but only really with, so she gave me a bit of yarn fibre when she gave me the wheel, and I spun a lot of that. Then when she also gave me like a raw fleece, and I spun some of that. Then when I lived in Orkney, my auntie got another raw fleece from a farmer that I was processing and spinning. That was actually a wobble fibre fleece. Yeah. So I was processing that, you know, taking out the coarse bits, brushing it or carding it, rolling it into row legs, and then spinning it, and also before that washing it, taking out, you know, the vegetable matter and other things. And by the time that I'd done that, it kind of took away the enthusiasm that I had for doing those things. And actually I did spin quite a lot of it, and I turned that into, one year for Christmas I did like all handspun gifts, which I just made like scarves out of and stuff like that. So that's what happened to that. And then I've got like half a fleece left of both of them, and I just haven't touched them since. And then when I started the college course that I'm doing, which is fashion textiles, I've spun a bit for that too. And then every knitting podcaster that I've been watching recently is spinning, and I've been watching them, and I'm just like itching to spin now, because it's like when you see somebody else has got something, you want it. So that's what's happened basically. So I asked for fibre, and I knew I was getting this. So before Christmas I actually went back and tried spinning some of my leftover fibre just to get back into the feel of things and sort of experiment with how thin I could spin, because basically my goal was to spin the yarn and knit a pair of socks out of them. I've been wanting to do that for the longest time, but obviously I've just never gotten around to it. So that's my goal. So I was watching some videos and stuff like that, and basically, I mean, yeah, basically I wanted to do a 3-ply, and I don't have enough bobbins to spin 3 separate like bobbins and then ply the 3 together. So basically I decided to try chain plying. And by the way, I'm sorry if spinning is not for you. I will have timestamps, so I'll timestamp to when you can skip to, but yeah, so chain plying. So I'm sure that the fibre that I was spinning was a superwash merino, which is not the easiest fibre to practice with or get back into the swing of things with, but it's what I had, so I had to use it. So basically I spun what can you see? I don't know. So basically I spun that merino as thin as I could, and then I chain plied it, and oh my god, chain plying is hell. It is hell. I did not enjoy it at all. I don't know if you can see. Actually, quite a lot of it is quite uniform, but obviously there are big changes. But nonetheless, I am really proud of this. This is all that I did, by the way. But because it's 3-ply, you have to spin so much to then get the length. But anyway, so that was my test, and yeah, chain plying is not for me. It wasn't really an option because I was like, I'm gonna spend so much time and effort spinning this, spinning the 1-ply to then mess it up when I'm chain plying. So I was like, do you know what, it's not worth it, I'm just gonna 2-ply it. So I gave up on the chain plying idea, and I I decided to 2-ply after that. So let us start with the first fibre that I spun from the, so I got 3 fibre tops. Is that what you call them? A fibre top? A top? Yeah, top. And I actually picked out the bases that I wanted, and then Karina picked out the colours. So this one that I have spun is it's from Arbon. It's the Appledore top base, which is 40% Devon close wool, 40% Romney, and 20% Exmoor Blueface in the Ellis Bitter colourway. 100 grams. And I think this is quite like a strong wool combination, so I think I was quite happy in using this as a sock wool because I really want to get into non-superwash, no nylon sock knitting, but I find it so hard to find affordable non-superwash, no nylon sock wool. So I was like, I'm just gonna spin it myself. I've got the means to. It's so much cheaper, and also it's the end product is so much nicer. It's more personal. it's more wholesome. I don't know. So anyway, this is that fibre spun up, and so I didn't actually leave any of the original like fibre top to show what it looked like as fibre and then turned into um yarn, but basically it looked like this. Basically there wasn't much change, and the only change is that when I spun it up together, so it's a red and a green, and then when I spun it up together, it gives the illusion of purple, which is kind of nice. But so this is 100 grams, and for 100 grams I've written on the back I got 140 meters, which is an Aran weight, nowhere near a 4-ply, let alone a sport weight or a DK to make socks with. So 100 grams for 140 meters, it wasn't going to be socks. But this is my first proper go at trying to spin an even yarn. I don't know if you can see, but it is pretty even. I'm really proud of it, so I think it's even. Yeah, my first go at doing, I'm actually going to show you one of my earlier attempts, and this was, yeah, about 5 years ago that I spun this ball, and I was actually going for like an arty yarn, but at the same time, you know, I definitely wasn't going to try and make a thinner, more even yarn. So this was one of my first ever goes at spinning yarn about 5 years ago, and funnily enough it is very it's very like this colour palette by coincidence, but yeah, so I thought I'd show you that because I thought it was quite interesting, the difference. So yeah, anyway, now something else that I did with this, which is annoying but also reversible I think, is that when I was drying this, I actually hung weights on it with the hope that it would stretch it out and make it longer. But all that it did was take out the stretch, like the bounce. So it's not stretchy or bouncy anymore. So hopefully I'm gonna steam that out, and I'll steam it. I actually got a clothes steamer for Christmas as well, so I'm just gonna steam it all and sort of hope that it bounces back, which I think it will. So all is not lost. I'm really proud of this. Yeah, it's pretty soft. It feels soft, but it also feels strong and still rustic in a way, but still soft, if that makes sense. So 140 meters for 100 grams, which is an Aran weight. What can I do with this? If anybody has any suggestions, please let me know, because I really want to knit this up into something, although it would be quite nice as just an ornament, to be fair. But anyway, all that to say, that was my first spin. Then I went to, there's so much stuff in front of me. Then I went on to, I actually got one of their sock bases, which is the Exmoor sock. I'm trying to get it. Which is, here we go. So this is the Exmoor sock base. What can you see? Which has not got what is in it written on it. I'm sure it's a mixture of 3 different like wools, mixed with 10% nylon. So it is actually a sock wool top yarn fibre. And obviously I wanted this to make socks with, but I also wanted that other fibre to make no nylon, non-superwash socks with, if that makes sense. So then I went on to spin this. And so I initially did maybe like a 50-gram, I'll call it a test because that is what it turned out to be, but it was intended to actually be used. So I did a 50-gram test of spinning this, and I ended up getting maybe it was 40 grams. I think per 40 grams I got 80 meters, and that was still too thick. basically the first try of spinning this, I spun it too thick, so I was like, right, try again. And then I tried again, and I managed to get these. Oh, I've got a little thing on that. I managed to get, this is my second attempt, and then my third attempt. So basically I did 60 grams, and after that I did 60 grams, which I got, this might confuse you, right? So basically I did 60 grams, but then I worked out the maths. So per 100 grams of this yarn would be 250 meters. Then per 100 grams of this yarn would be 240 meters. So basically the same weight, right? And altogether I have 110 meters. So that's what, like 270 meters, which is enough yarn to make a pair of socks with. So I got there in the end. It took me a couple of tries, but not as many tries as could have been, basically. So I got my yarn finally, and I literally didn't do anything for 3 days apart from spin, and I've got like hyper flexible, whatever you want to call it, joints, especially my hips. So when I'm spinning, it really, really flares up my hips, and in the past it's crippled me. But I managed, let me put that away. I managed to get into such a position where it didn't hurt as much. And basically what I was doing wrong is I was sitting too low down. So I piled up the cushions and I sat as high as possible, and when I spun like that, it was fine. A little bit of pain, but on the third day it was absolutely fine. So I'm really happy that I've managed to find a position that I can sit in that doesn't hurt to spin, because it means I can spin all the time. So not yesterday, but the day before, I cast on socks. So I'm trying to think what weight it would be. Is that a sport weight? I'm sure actually, do you know what, this yarn that I knit, those socks that I was showing earlier, 150 grams is 375 meters, which actually works out per 100 grams is 250 meters. So basically I spun exactly this weight of yarn, which is just a, oh, I've shaken that, just a weird coincidence. So I kind of had an idea of like the needle sizes that I wanted to use, and also the stitch count. I didn't want to go toe up. I was just like, I'm not even messing with that with these, because I know how to get a good fit top down, and yeah, so I am guessing how much yarn to use, but that's fine. I can always spin more. I don't want to, but I could always spin more, but I know I'm gonna have enough. I know for sure I'm gonna have enough. Anyway, so this is as far as I've gotten. Top down heel flap and gusset socks. Yeah. So for the other socks that I showed at the beginning, I actually used a 3mm needle, but for these I want them to be really dense so that there is the least amount of possibility of them wearing thin. I really want to avoid, I want to make them as long lasting as I possibly can. So I'm knitting them really densely, like this is a dense fabric and it is hurting my hands and wrists a little bit, but it's definitely going to be worth it in the long run, so that's okay with me. So for these, actually I decided to vaguely follow the Crazy Sock Lady DK weight sock pattern. I'll link it below. I say vaguely because it is vaguely, and I'm changing all of the numbers so it's not really following it. But I cast on 86 stitches for the cuff. Then as soon as I went into stockinette, I decreased 4 stitches. Then every 5 rows I decreased 2 stitches until I ended up with 48 stitches for the ankle. 20 rows of 1x1 rib, 30 rows of just plain knit, 13 repeats of the heel flap and gusset slip stitches, and then I will pick up and knit. Well, I'll decrease to, I think I'm going to decrease to 52 because I knit for the socks that I showed at the beginning, I knit a 52 stitch foot, which is actually a little bit loose on me, but because I'm using a 2.5mm, I'm hoping that it will suck it in a bit more, and also I don't actually want them to be too tight, so I think that'll be fine. I'll knit them as long as I need to knit them, and then I'll do the toe. And hopefully I should have enough. For this so far, I've used about 23 grams for all of this. So I'll have enough. I know I'll have enough, but it's still stressful. So that's me. Is that all to say? Yes, probably. I've spoken a lot about spinning there, so I'm sorry, but oh, the needles that I'm using, I actually got for Christmas. I did ask for them, so I knew I was going to get them, but they are beautiful. They're like these, like grey. The colour reminds me of like a grey ragdoll, like a silver ragdoll cat. And I've got a little ragdoll. She's not silver, but yeah, that's just what it reminds me of. And they're beautiful. They are a little bit hard to knit with because they're a bit grippy, if you know what I mean. But they're so beautiful. So that's that. That's that. Done. Not speaking about that anymore. So next, that's all of my knitting that I've got to show. And next, acquisitions. So of course it's just been Christmas, and all that I basically asked for was knitting related, apart from like asking for like pyjamas or whatever. But everything else I got was knitting related really, or food. So let's start with the yarn that I got. So obviously I got that fibre. I also got I asked for this. which is Moar Knits sock yarn, which is a sock yarn, a 4-ply sock yarn in quartz, 122 quartz. I think that is getting blown out because of how light the ring light is, but it is a beautiful, beautiful neutral, like soft beigey off-white colour. And one thing that I like about Moar Knit, well, first of all, their yarns are like butter. This is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon, and I've only had one of their yarns before, and it was the neon pink one that I used for cuff, heel and toe on another pair of socks, and yeah, it's like butter. It's so soft. And my idea with this is holding them. I got 3. My idea was holding them double to create a DK weight, and then knitting socks with them. So that's the idea with them, and I think I don't know when I'll knit them because I'll probably have a break from sock knitting after I've finished those hand-dyed ones. So next is, okay, I'll show you the other fibre. Again from John Arbon's. This time it's the apple door top in quench, yeah, and it's such a beautiful fibre. I'm really excited to spin this one up, really, really excited. I think all the colours are going to melt together, and it might even create like a brown vibe, because obviously the colours mix together, and when you mix like loads of colours together it just becomes brown. So really excited. I think that will look beautiful. Another thing that I got was actually needles, because I needed 2.75 DPNs, 3mm DPNs, and also I needed another circular, a small circular, because I'm trying to think when I got them. I must have got them maybe even last Christmas. I asked for it was last Christmas. I asked for DPNs, and I actually was adamant I wanted the bamboo ones. I'm sure it was by Addy as well. Look how tiny these are. They're so small. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, I was adamant that I wanted the bamboo ones because I prefer knitting with wooden needles when it comes to socks. I just like how light they are. So anyway, I was adamant on that. And I've used them, and mainly what I've used them for is knitting socks when I'm like traveling to college. So when I'm on the train, I'll just knit, and I'll only use the small circular because then I've not got like 4 sharp sticks, knitting around. It's just like, just one little tiny needle. I can shove it in my bag, and it's not like all spiky and gets in the way. But I was knitting like on those socks, and the tip broke off of the bamboo needles, and that was like maybe a month and a half ago. So I did actually sand down that tip, but it doesn't feel right. Like I can't get the pointiness, like the pointiness right, and then the texture's all wrong. So I kind of have given up on that set of needles now, which is a real shame because they were nice, but they were 9 inches, and they were quite like I'm knitting a 64 stitch sock, but I wouldn't try to knit a sock that's any smaller than that, like a 60 stitch sock. I wouldn't even try on those because you just stretch it too much and it's not that comfortable. But so I asked for these specifically because I'm sure they're like a 7.7 inch. This is a 20 centimeter, whereas the other ones are 23, so they're smaller, which means they should be more comfortable in terms of like not stretching all the stitches around and all of that stuff. So I'm hoping they're not too small. I haven't given them a go yet, but I'm so excited to. I'm really excited to transfer my sock over to these and knit on those when I travel to college, when restrictions allow us back. So I also asked for stitch markers, and these are they. I sent Karina some options, and these are the ones that she chose out of those options. They are by Rose Finch Yarn from Etsy, and I'm sure these are glass. I'm not sure how much you can see if I'm getting blown out, but they're like a really nice weight, and they make a nice noise and they're so beautiful. I'll link it below so you can see them properly. I'm yet to use these because I wanted to show them, but I'm really excited to. So the last couple of things, let me see. Yeah, the last couple of things, these are from my sister, and she got me a natural dyeing book as well as some like dried natural dyes to try it out, because I've been really interested in doing that, and I did a college project on it, and yeah, I want to explore that further because I just find it really interesting. And so she also got me this yarn to naturally dye. Apparently she asked the shop owner which ones would be good, and I think they helped her choose. But these, the Issika alpaca one is 100% undyed alpaca. However, it is a proper lace weight. It's 50 grams, it's 140 meters, which would be hell to what do you call it, to make into a skein and then dye and then wind back up again. So I'm not sure that I will naturally dye with this one. So if anybody has any ideas on what to do with this, I'm probably almost definitely gonna hold it together with a mohair to make something with, and it is so soft. And every time I feel soft yarn at the moment, I'm like, oh, they would be nice wrist warmers. So maybe they'll be wrist warmers. Maybe I could hold it double with itself. Would 200 meters be enough to make wrist warmers? I'm not sure. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. So that's really nice, really soft, and you can definitely tell that it's really good quality. And the last yarn that I got was which is Qing Fibers Kid Silk Mohair it is 50 grams ultra fine kid mohair, 70%, and 30% silk, 420 meters. I'm not sure what Matirx, that's what this is called. It's got stuff on it. And it is beautiful. I'm sure, I think I can see that it is actually more of a like a neon yellow in real life, but I've never used Qing fibre yarn because it is quite expensive. So I've never really taken the plunge, although I've wanted to many times. And I did speak about right at the beginning of my podcast about how I wanted to buy the kit to make the Simply Wave crop top, but I didn't. I just used my own yarn, so I'm so excited to try out their yarn, and I actually know what I'm going to do with it. So in my last episode I spoke about making another Birds of a Feather shawl by Andrea Mowry, which I've knitted before in a gradient blue, pink, purple yarn, and I've since knitting that I've always wanted to make another one. But it was just finding the right yarn to do it and the right time. And as soon as I saw this, I was like, that either needs to be a ranunculus to just have it on its own, or I really want to put it into a Birds of Feather shawl. And I was like, you can't make another ranunculus, come on, that's ridiculous. So I'm gonna make it into a Birds of a Feather shawl. So yeah, in my last one I spoke about how I bought yarn to make a Birds of a Feather shawl, but I've decided to use that yarn for something else because I think this would be a better option. I'm actually going to use that yarn to make I can't remember what it's called now, but it's a cowl by Cat Weaver. I bought the pattern. I can't remember what it's called, but I'll link it below. And that is actually the perfect amount of yarn to make that. And I wanted to make that for so long, so it was kind of perfect. So I have actually bought basically the Birds of a Feather shawl uses one mohair, 50 grams of mohair, and then like a fingering weight for the other stripes. I'll link it below so you can look at it so you know what I'm talking about. But basically, yeah, I don't have any 4-ply yarn weight yarn to stripe with that, and I really want it to be a special yarn to go with that because that is such a special yarn too. And actually I've had my eye on trying a base that Qing Fibre sells, which I'm not actually sure like where it is and where it's from in terms of like everything that they make is like sell is like hand dyed by them, but this seems to be a base that isn't hand dyed by them, but they just carry it. But I've not seen it anywhere else, so I don't know if they have like made it. I don't really know, if you know what I mean. I don't know. Anyway, I'll link it below. I have actually bought it. I've not got it with me yet because obviously it's been Christmas and New Year, so nothing's arrived yet. But I actually bought 2 options because so it was the fjord wool yarn and the fjord Donegal. So the fjord Donegal is a heavy-ish lace weight yarn, so per 50 grams is 350 meters. Now for the yarn that I want to use with that should be 100 grams is 350 meters. So I was like, well, I could hold two strands of that yarn together and it would be a perfect weight. And it's only £4.50 a ball. So basically I was trying to decide between two colours, one dark green and one black, because there's dark greens in this, but there's also like specks and little sections of black, and I really couldn't decide. And Karina was like, why don't you just buy both? And it's actually a sock yarn, like the base is a sock yarn. So I was like, well, I can always make socks with that. Anyway, so all in all, for what I need, I'd have to buy 3 balls of that, or skeins or whatever of that, which was only like £13.50, I think. So it was kind of affordable for me to just go, right, I'll buy both colours and then I'll decide when it gets here. So I got those 2 colours, and then I also got a skein of just the fjord wool, because, and the reason why I didn't, so the fjord wool is actually a 4-ply, but the reason I didn't get that to make for the shawl is because 100 grams is like 450 meters, which is like a really light fingering weight, and I didn't want that, which is kind of a shame, because there actually was one colour of that would have been perfect, but it was just too thin. But I really wanted to try that base to make socks with, basically, and it was only like £7.50 a skein, so that was kind of affordable as well. And I had Christmas money so I was just like, I'm just gonna get it because I wanted to try it for so long. That I've spoken about this for far too long, I know. So anyway, really excited for that to come. And so one other thing that I got was actually another request by me, and it's just this. And this is a mohair brush. So when I have washed things with mohair, often it flattens. So I wanted to get a mohair brush that you literally just brush on like garments that have mohair in, and it'll sort of fluff it back up again. I also want to make something and then really brush it out and make like a brushed mohair. I've seen it done on some things and it's beautiful, so I'm excited to try that. And then one other thing that I have bought that isn't here is more fibre. I know. I actually bought, so John Arbon again. I bought I'll link it below what I bought, but I bought one that's an Exmoor and Swarble combo, which I'm wanting to make socks with. And then I bought one that is just Exmoor in like a yellow mix, and one other one that's like almost like a black with little specks of colours in, which I just really wanted to see what it would look like spun up. So I'll have to try and find something to knit that into once I spun it, but I'm really excited to just spin it. So that's where I'm at, really. Yeah, one other thing that I wanted to show you just before I go, because I've spoken about everything and I've rambled on about like random things, is for the whole year of 2021, I have kept every single like end of yarn that I've woven in. One, because of like, I just really wanted to see the waste that I was making, if that makes sense. Like I didn't just want to throw it away, I wanted to keep it and then maybe make something with it or use it as stuffing for something, you know. And also I was just really curious to see at the end of the year just, you know, how many ends I've woven in, and actually these aren't all of them. So this is the bag. Just so much. Yeah. So much, and they're all teeny tiny little ends, and there's just so many. I can't believe I've woven in so many ends. There's so many from like scrappy socks and everything, so there's a lot. Anyway, I'm gonna do that again for this year, and it'll be really interesting to compare. So that's everything that I've got to speak about. Thank you for watching. Hopefully it won't be long until my next one, because I'm probably gonna get all of that yarn and spin it up and make something with it, and hopefully finish that chestnut sweater because I really want it. I just really want to wear it, and I also want it whilst it's still cold out, which I'm sure it's going to be cold out for quite a long time, but anyway, yes. So thank you for watching. I hope you're well, I hope you had a nice holiday, and I hope you are excited for the new year. And I will see you next time. Bye.